Hello, I am Stephanie Joy, the attorney at All Things Social Security and Joy Disability Law. Your video is about to start. I just wanted to remind you that if you click the join button below, you can learn more about the memberships offered at a very affordable price that can give you a little more direct attorney answers to your questions. Have a great day and enjoy the video. Hey, just a quick share here about at least my perception of how vocational rehab, if you are claiming disability, um, can have an impact one way or another. A very diligent viewer, I think, has asked me more than once. Either that or it's two different people. But I look at it this way. If you are feeling like you have, I can't do my old job. I don't know of any other job I can necessarily do. I'm certainly not trained in any, and I have really seriously, physical and or mental limitations that prevent full-time in anything I can think of. Um, Going to vocational rehab. So this would be like sometimes counties have agencies. I don't want to say they're state necessarily, but um, it could be like a career link, or it's somehow often funded, I think, governmentally. But, and what they do is sometimes they will try to find training that you can have for a basic job. Maybe you need to learn how to, I don't know, answer a phone. I don't know, um, specifically. But other times they go through everything and figure out what your limitations are and what kind of work you can get perhaps on a part-time basis and see if it can go up to, if there is the possibility of full-time. I have seen it handy as an additional piece of evidence. It's certainly not controlling or conclusive. When a person is found by the vocational rehab place to not be able to work full-time, but they're going to try to find them a part-time. Maybe it's a stamina thing. Maybe it's a pain thing where they can only, put out a certain amount of hours a day of being upright, and then they have to, they just get overwhelmed with the effects of working, more than a few hours. And generally, I would tend to think it would only be beneficial if you did get a job, it's going to have to be non-SGA work, obviously. I mean, if you go to vocational rehab and they put you in a full-time job and you succeeded it for 6 months, that's considered you're no longer disabled. So, but and that's not to say you shouldn't try to do full-time if you think you find a job that you could do, and you might, step into, what do they say? Step into shiite, which is a positive thing. Um, But if it's SGA more than 6 months, even if it's part-time, but SGA, so you have to know those numbers, then it would put a kibosh on your case. And same is true if you've already prevailed on your claim. But if it is such that they believe that you really need to stay part-time and very sedentary, then that could actually be helpful, because while they are not conclusive experts, they arguably know their stuff. And if they think that you're limited to um, only part-time, and they have some employers that would hire, impaired people part-time within their physical and mental means, then that could actually maybe be helpful, because it's going to show that this entity, who presumably knows its stuff, this is what it does for a living, is determine what capacities kind of people have, and try to fit them with employers that offer the accommodations they need. I believe that could be helpful. Uh, on the other side, if you're going to try to use one to work full-time, I think that's great too. Because if it does work out and you find a job that works for you and it's full-time or above SGA, then it's kind of a win-win. You don't have to go for disability at this point. You can continue to grow your benefit amount for retirement, for later disability if that happens. So, pardon me, I think I got a little cold in the house. So I think it's overall a positive. But again, you have to know what you're looking to do and, treat it accordingly. If they see your limitations and they're going to well document it, again, that would be helpful for your case. If they think you should only work, 3-hour shifts every other day or even every day, but you're going to be under SGA and, making a low enough rate of pay that you would be under SGA, then that, if you take the job, it's not going to put a fork in your case necessarily. Of course, nothing can you win without having that really robust medical evidence, the very frequent treatment of follow-up and diagnostics and therapies, physical or mental, or both, whatever all those things have to still go on while you're doing this work, or else you're going to have that gap in treatment. It's going to be slim treatment, and it's not going to be enough records that the SSA is going to want to hang their hat on it. So you still have to do the case the way you would be doing it, but you could definitely work. I mean, I have clients that work part-time all the time. It's not unusual. And, we just work within the guide, the actual, I shouldn't even say guidelines. Some are black and white rules, and then some are guidelines that I would suggest for an optical, more clarification optically that this is really what you're limited to. So vocational rehab, depending on what your goal is, can be helpful. It doesn't have to be hurtful to a case. It doesn't have to be hurtful if you're already a beneficiary and want to get back to some kind of part-time work. But you have to always maintain your evidence that you continue to be disabled from full-time work and you are never to work SGA. All right. If you don't really need to earn as up to SGA, I always say don't flirt with it. Don't flirt with that number. As you know, it's 1550 in 2024, going up slightly for 2025, but I don't recall the number off the top of my head. But I did a video the other day updating you on some of the numbers and what they're going to be for 2025. So you can definitely do it. I don't think it's bad. And like I said, it can also give some substance to your case if they have an opinion on what you cannot do. So, take a look, see at that, if they say, yeah, he walks with a limp and I understand his pain sets in. Sometimes I think they even give you some test runs, but, double check and look at what that particular vocational rehab is doing. If they place you in something to see how it goes, that's way under SGA, very short shifts. I have a video on all the recommendations of what kind of job situation might be best, not just to keep you able to do it so you don't suffer too much if you have pain problems or whatever, but also optically, what might optically support the symptoms that you talk about. Don't really want to see someone taking a job that hurts them based on their impairments, but they're pushing through it anyway. So you want to do that as little as you can, because if you're doing it, it's presumed it's okay. So you don't want to suffer through it like Superman or Superwoman, because then you're going to be held to being able to do it. And then if it's an 8-hour day and you're doing 3 of them and you're working 24 hours a week, you're under SGA because you make a low rate of pay. That's not necessarily going to look too good that you can do 8-hour days for 3 days a week. Just saying. So use your noodle if you use vocational rehab. Use your noodle if you don't use it and you go get your own job. I mean, either way, it's really all the same, except that vocational rehab could produce a letter or 3 or something in your file that talks about all your limitations and what kind of accommodations you might need. Because I think they're going to try to match you up with their employers that are willing to hire part-timers, disabled folks, some needing certain kind of accommodations that they can provide without hurting their business too much. All right. I mean, the vocational rehabs usually have relationships with these kind of employers. So anyway, I hope that helps answer that question. I mean, it's like everything else, there's very little black and white. It's like this more nebulous, like, well, it's kind of like this, but just be careful not to do this. And I think, I mean, I love to see people be able to get back to work. And if they remain disabled from working full time in any job that would legally be required to be proven, and they can get their benefits and their part-time work as well, I think it's fantastic. Better quality of life, better standard of living. In these days of incredible inflation, I mean, I can't even believe when I look at what I've spent on food this year. And last year wasn't good either, of course. But I have a family of 5 and it's killing me. So when I think about people on a more fixed income, I know it's not easy, and fuel costs are no prize either. So, but you know what? Elections have consequences. So there you go. All right. I hope that helps with the vocational rehab, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye now.